Uh,
All right, go.
okay. Hi, my name is Joydeb. I'm a sophomore and I'm health science studies. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Pascal. I'm a senior and I'm health science studies.
Hi, my name is Esther, and I'm pre-PT exercise physiology major.
Hi, my name is Sridhaya. I am a health science studies major on the pre-med track. And so today we are going to be discussing the article about the relationship between joint shape and osteoarthritis. So this paper basically explores the link between joint shape and the development of osteoarthritis. And it focuses the most on hip osteoarthritis. And a finding that I've found from reading this article is about the genetic contribution. So the hip osteoarthritis is highly heritable, which means that it runs in the family, and genetics accounts for about 60% of the cases that they recorded. And it involves the genes that account for joint shape development, which are the, I believe, the WNT and the BMT families of genes, and they also play a significant role in the risk of osteoarthritis. Yeah, so that's um so I guess one question that I had was when does this like so the since it's genetic and genes are what basically contribute to osteoarthritis in the hip, does is it like a mutation or is it because of like environmental interactions, like basically like what are some things that would cause this like abnormality in the gene?
That's an interesting question. In the article, I saw where it said for the WNT and also the BMP protein, there are certain changes in nucleotide bases that might be responsible for the overexpression of
Okay.
WNT and BMP.
Right. Okay.
Um,
So would these like the overexpression, would that just be like like a response to the environment that a person would live in? Like,
I believe so
Yeah,
because
yeah, that's what
it
I'm.
depends on it also can being hereditary, it also can come on earlier in your life depending
right.
on your lifestyle. So if there's constant stress on your joints,
Right.
that's a big indicator. Um, Walking up harsher environments, up hills. Or it depends on the work. Like if you're a construction worker, you have to carry a bunch of things. It's more likely. Uh, there's something else. Oh, women seem more prone to it
Right.
than men.
Yeah, I read about like the hormonal aspect of
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, which I actually thought was really interesting because I didn't think there was a correlation between hormones and like how joints are
Yeah.
shaped.
Me neither.
And this
So
this brings me
makes sense
on to
though.
another confusing point is like how much can lifestyle modifications really offset genetic predispositions of OA? Because it could be like it could have like 70% of an effect or like 30% of an effect. Like it just varies. That's one confusing point to me from the article.
Wait,
Mm.
what do you mean? Like, can you expand?
Yeah, like you said there's different types of ways like it can affect you, like genetic modifications and lifestyle modifications. So I
Mhm.
want to see how much it's genetic and how much it is actually how you live your life or lifestyle.
So,
Oh, like the difference, like if it almost like a study if somebody had a easier life with it
Yeah.
mhm,
versus, oh, okay, I see, I
Yeah,
see, I
yeah.
see.
yeah, that would actually be
Mhm.
interesting.
That's
But
pretty good. I like that actually.
yeah,
I mean, would you
but
think
in the
that it would be
article,
40%? since it's
Mm,
60% inherited.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
true. It did
yeah,
say
that's what I was
60%,
gonna
right?
yeah,
say.
it
Yeah.
can be hereditary.
Okay, it
Not
can be
all.
hereditary. Yeah, okay.
Yes. You don't only get it through genes.
It's
Yeah.
the combination of like nature and nurture
Right.
that can
Yeah.
be.
Isn't
That's
that a psych theory
That is, I
actually?
think that is a
Yeah.
Mhm.
psych. That is a psych.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting how like they're starting to tie a psych theory into like actual physiological things
yeah.
too.
Did you
It
guys
makes
find any
a lot of
like
sense.
real life applications that you could connect with these?
I think my granddad, I believe, had it. He was obese, and whereas he didn't have like a hard lifestyle on his
Right.
physical body,
Right.
Well, I
he
mean,
was a
obesity.
locksmith.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Um,
obesity actually does like
the extra body
pressure
weight.
on your joints
Yeah,
because of the
exactly.
weight. So
hmm And
I guess.
the fat tissues that produce the
Mhm,
protein,
Yeah.
it can be harmful and it can cause your joints extra inflammation.
mhm. My grandma on my mom's side actually has arthritis, but she has it in her hands.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, but she did live a pretty hard, like not like a challenging lifestyle, I guess, because obviously like we use our hands a lot, like we use them every day, like almost every second of the day. But like, um, I guess I don't even know how to
So would you
explain
say
this.
her lifestyle was like an average person or
I would say more than an average
more than
person.
okay.
So like I guess the more you use your hands or like any of your joints, the more worn down they get.
Right.
So like whenever I went to go visit her over the summer, I noticed that her like her knuckles were like super inflamed and like her thumb also was like huge compared to like the
Yeah,
rest of her fingers. So I
and it
thought,
gets worse
Yeah.
yeah.
as you get older.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And another takeaway, honestly, I realized that like if we really understand the genetic component of OA, we could make better treatment and more preventative measures. And I
Hmm.
feel like drug developments that target WNT or BMP could help slow or prevent OA progression.
That actually brings me to a question that I had. So so the article mentioned that there were some like new tests, I think, or I forgot what exactly it was, but like to identify if a person has OA. And so what I was wondering is that if the structural abnormalities should be screened for in younger people to predict and prevent OA
yes.
in their future.
And I think
Yeah.
that was a takeaway from the article that I got
Mhm,
was that in each of these, like in developmental dysplasia, acetabular dysplasia, and all these studies, there are like signs in the cartilage. There are signs in the shape of the acetabular joint, which show up earlier in life than the scans show it. Then the radiographic scans show the hip osteoarthritis. And
mhm,
so if we can use these signs, like in Wagner's study, he looks at hyaline cartilage and
mhm,
the changes in the molecular components of that cartilage. And he says that in young adults, even before they've gotten radiographic treatment, they saw changes in the cartilage years before that. And so that was an interesting takeaway for me that if we can pay attention to these signs, then we can um, nail osteoarthritis a lot earlier and
Right.
prevent it
mhm.
uh, in the lifespan or later on in the lifespan.
I
So
feel
that
Yeah.
like
was
I feel like since this is such a common disease among like older people, and so like you know how like people do cancer screenings like after a certain age, like after you turn like 40 or 50, you're like the doctor's like, "Oh, you have to get a colonoscopy or
Right.
like you have to get your colon checked or like you have to get your like for women, you have to get your breast checked," like stuff like that. I feel like younger people like once they turn a certain age they should also be getting like these tests to see if they have osteoarthritis, because like obviously it might be preventable
That's a
if
very
it's
good
Mhm.
point.
if it's caught early on.
Very good point.
Screening
That's
might be an extra cost, but I think it's
Yeah.
worth it in the long run from
Yeah,
right.
burdening
that
That's
is a
very great
burdening the hospitals
family.
later on in life with
yeah.
Hmm.
Right, right.
osteoarthritis treatment.
Yeah.
And maybe over time, like it can also be something that like insurance will cover.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
as more people get it,
I
insurance
Yeah.
think it
cover it.
should be covered
Yeah.
for sure,
Yeah.
especially because scans can cost so much money.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Ugh.
done many scans and they're costly, honestly.
Yeah.
They're costly.
Wow, there goes my tuition. Say,
But an interesting aspect of the research that I found was that how the study mentioned specific ethnic groups have different OA
Hmm.
prevalence rates. Like Asians and Africans have like a lower prevalence rate than other ethnic groups.
yeah,
Mhm.
What
African
do you think?
American and
yeah,
African, so and then
are
Caucasian and
different,
Asian.
Yeah.
which is crazy that
Yeah,
African Americans have more are more common than Africans. Makes
Africans.
me
Yeah.
sad, but it's interesting to think about, and, like how different the lifestyle is.
Yeah.
Uh, I assume because in America we like we overwork ourselves
Hmm.
overtime. When I lived in Costa Rica, most of the shops closed at like 4 or 5 p.m.
Agreed.
And the
Hmm.
only thing that was open were bars so that people could go home and rest. And in Europe, they had like a 2 hour lunch break. It's
Similar to
insane.
Madrid. It was the same way in Madrid. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And to think like a bunch of diseases and injuries can be prevented by something that seems so little,
Yeah.
but it's life
Yeah,
changing.
that's actually crazy because here, like grocery stores close at 11 p.m.
Yes, I work at Hawaiian Bros, and the inside closes at midnight, but the drive-through closes
Midnight?
at 3 a.m. That's
Yeah, and like
insane.
especially and like yeah, I work at HEB and like they open at 6 a.m., close at 11 p.m. That's crazy.
I-
Yeah.
Insane.
And they
Yeah.
don't even tell you if you work long shifts, like, hey, you should go for a lunch break. You have
Hmm.
to figure it out for yourself.
I work in the pharmacy, so like on Sundays I work the entire duration that pharmacy is
Mm-hmm.
open. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's from like and I have to come an hour early too, so that's from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that's a whole 7 hours where I'm just standing.
Which
Like
is
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
the whole 7 hours.
7 hours
Yes,
standing puts
it's
so much stress on your
horrible.
joints.
And I have chronic foot pain, so standing on my feet all day,
Right.
at the
Yeah,
end,
like
I
by
just
the
don't
end of
have
it, I
anything.
cannot feel my legs. Like they're
Exactly.
so sore.
And
But
it just unfortunately makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense
yeah,
that it's like America would have that difference between the other
Yeah.
yeah,
countries with
yeah.
arthritis.
And like, and I do get like these, like these workplaces have breaks, like maybe like 30, like a lunch break, 30 minutes, or like,
Yeah.
oh, you can just take a break for 15 minutes. But like, obviously, that's not enough for your body to like regain its strength,
No, it's not.
even if you're sitting for that
I
like
feel
entire
like
time.
because of this, over time, there should be change in the way
Mhm.
the work system, the work system works.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like it will take a long time before any of that
It's
really
baked
happens.
into the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
hard to shift the entirety of your
yeah.
work space
That's why,
across the whole state.
yeah. That's why
Yeah.
this research is really important. And like another note I really took was that the study highlights the importance of like joint geometry. So if we really understand that better
Oh.
in disease development, then we can pave the way for like more targeted interventions
Hmm.
where we don't have to, I guess, culture shift, but honestly, because I feel like that's going to take a more longer time than actually doing the research and finding like a preventative measure based on joint geometry.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So I also like this may like sparked an idea also. So you know how like if you break a bone or like some people if you like break a bone they can like kind of just like regenerate or not regenerate like build a new one like a prosthetic.
Hmm.
So how do you guys think that that idea would play into joints?
Hmm.
I think. because you can be born with a bone deformity,
Right.
Hmm.
so there could be possibility for surgery early on, so it prevents that. Um,
True.
but that's also kind of a stretch,
Like with
um,
the pistol.
at a
Oh,
young
sorry.
age. Huh?
Sorry. Oh, with the pistol grip deformity, right? And there's a
Right.
growth on the bone that
Mhm.
irritates the cartilage of the hip socket.
Yeah.
Maybe orthopedic surgery could grind down the growth on that bone so that it stops irritating the hip socket. Is that what you
Mhm.
mean by surgery?
Hmm.
Surgery of
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was
I think
something else. Go for it.
while you think of that, I also think that like all of this like regeneration, like how you said, well, or what you were saying, I think it can also like grow into something more where like you can maybe like grow these cells in a lab and possibly like produce like an actual joint, like a joint maybe, or like a bone, like
Mhm.
from the person's like DNA and their cells, so it wouldn't have to be synthetic.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
That's,
good
yeah,
idea.
very good
And
point.
I feel like that would like obviously last longer, work better, and like maybe the person will have more mobility,
Hmm.
which I don't know,
Yeah.
it might be cool.
No, that's a good idea. That's
There were a
actually
lot of interesting
growing
aspects.
it from like a stem cell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot the name. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is a good idea.
Yeah.
There were a lot of interesting aspects of the research. Another one I put was like some hip shape abnormalities don't always lead to OA. So this could say that
Right.
Oh
mechanical
yeah, remember
stress or like inflammation could be part
like
of
in
it.
Japan,
Right.
the what was it called? Developmental dysplasia of the
Hmm.
hip,
Hmm.
which is normally linked to osteoarthritis. In
Hmm.
Japan, they don't develop the osteoarthritis after.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So that was
And
like
Right.
interesting.
again,
Like,
I
wow,
think that would again, I think that would tie into more of their lifestyle also, because
lifestyle.
in Japan, obviously, like they're obviously like more high tech. Like if I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
heard, like there's like more high tech that like, so I guess that means like humans do less work.
That,
Mhm.
yeah. You
Hmm.
Yeah.
either do less, it's like there's not really an in between. You do less work,
Hmm.
or you start working at such a young age that your bones and muscles become stronger, and it's not just like you're thrown into a deep end of hard work as an adult and all play as a kid. Like, I watch documentaries on how they send their kids to the grocery store at like 6 years old and buy their own food. It's insane. It's really cool.
It's cool, but
Obviously,
it's the
like,
same.
yeah, and obviously we can't really do that here because in the US it's just so much bigger, especially Texas. But I think involving kids with that is super important. Um, and partially it's like, ugh, I lost my train of thought. There's so many people here today. What was I gonna say? I forgot, but you know what I mean.
You
Yeah,
said
I
children
think
from young age,
Yeah,
children
yeah, yeah.
from young age could
Yes, yes.
advance to
I
build.
also and I
Hmm.
also think like building on to what you said, like children who are like thrown into it as a young age in a young age, like they build up that endurance and that strength. So their joints and their muscles are kind of like already strong.
Hmm.
Um, Compared to like people who are just like thrown into it at like an older age, they can't like as you get older, obviously, like your mobility becomes less, your like your regeneration of your cells becomes less, so like you lose your strength, so
Hmm.
like you can't build up that endurance as fast, so maybe that's also why it causes this degeneration and osteoarthritis, because you don't have that strength already built up from a young age.
So maybe that could be the explanation for why Africans see
Could be a great
overweight.
link, yeah.
Yep.
'Cause from a young age, they're like lifting things,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
honestly.
weights,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's all
Honestly.
yeah,
washing
play as well too.
clothes,
It's
everything.
not work. It's just fun
Yeah,
So
yeah.
honestly,
most of
yeah.
the time.
you know.
Mm,
So I guess it's all in the culture. We have to like,
Yeah.
mhm.
Everything's in the culture.
How
Yeah.
you grow up.
Everything's in the
It
Yeah.
culture.
also depends on if you have access and the money to check it out at a
oh
Yeah.
younger
yeah,
age or
yeah.
at a certain age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can run in your family and you can see the signs, but if you don't have anything to help with it,
Then it's just
It's just
there.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
it's
there.
just
Yeah.
there.
That
Yeah.
like that actually brings us back to our point about nature versus nurture.
Yeah, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Just circles back. It's all connected.
um
Since going back on the topic of like hormones, the study did mention that like estrogen does lower the risk of OA in women.
mhm.
Mhm.
I was thinking, I was also like, I had a discussion idea. I was like, I wrote it down. I was like, should estrogen therapy really be considered for OA prevention, or does it contain too many risks? Because I know one risk of estrogen is like, or including more estrogen is like blood clots.
Yeah,
So we have to really learn about these side effects and really like figure out if that is a preventable measure or would it
right.
just be too much?
And at that
Well,
point, you could look at your body type too, because
yeah.
Right.
what if
Well,
if people who are obese get more
mm,
clots, just won't work.
so women also do go like their bodies do go through more stress,
Hmm.
Hmm.
I would argue, because
Especially during the menstrual cycle.
menstrual
Right.
struggle, giving birth, like things
Right.
Yeah.
like that, that would also put pressure on your joints.
which
Right.
which
Right.
is why what she talked about whenever she I think at least I think it was from this class. I might be confusing two classes, but somebody talked about how women shouldn't do intense workouts during like on their menstrual cycle because they're already going through so much stress. It
Yeah.
just puts more pressure on their bodies, and whereas workouts do help
Mhm.
relieve pain, intense will probably do more damage over time than it does any
Exactly.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then
And
even after the menstrual period, when they enter menopause,
Yeah.
the osteoporosis because the
Yep.
estrogen is going down, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
So we could put like estrogen as a preventative disease in like different categories, I'd say. So
Yeah.
women with like no cardiac problems or no like they don't have a high OA risk. I feel like that is a good preventable disease for them. But
Mhm.
women that actually do have risk, they know they have normal like blood clotting or like cardiovascular disease. I feel like that's just not the best option for them. But I feel like it should be an option just for the some group of people that it will actually fit into.
Yeah. It's like a
Right.
very niche like group of people, but
Yeah,
like
I feel like that should still be a preventative measure.
mhm.
Hmm.
In
gene
general.
therapy, what
Yeah,
if you could like
yeah,
cut out the gene that overexpresses like the
yeah.
BNP and the WNT?
What
Um,
therapy?
Gene therapy?
Oh, gene therapy.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I feel like that would also be harmful because also without that gene, like you won't have like your the function of the joint or like the actual shape.
Not the gene, but like the mutation.
yeah. The
The
Oh,
S
mutation
okay,
of the
yeah.
gene.
Well, I mean, if
yeah.
the gene itself has the mutation, like what are you
Cut it
gonna?
out and then replace it with the right base. I think there's a thing that they do.
Oh, like
Yeah,
replacement. Okay.
there's
CRISPR?
Would be surprised.
That's from genetics. I
yeah, yeah.
remember
I've
like
Like
heard.
CRISPR or
I probably
No,
have to
something.
do
no,
more research on it, but
I know what it's
Yeah.
called. They're actually doing that with cardiovascular proteins. I just forgot what it's called,
Hmm.
but they're
they do
replacing.
something.
Yeah,
They
so
do
they
do.
replace it with like new synthetic things that they made in lab, and they try to like destroy the person's actual gene
Oh,
and
Yeah,
have that cell like regrow in the person. So
that's cool.
that is really
that it's
cool.
actually really cool. Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It is.
All right. Sorry, guys. My meeting ended because I don't have Zoom Pro. But okay, so um, I actually have a question. So if these genetic markers for osteoarthritis susceptibility become like widely available among like medical practices, what ethical things that should we consider while doing these like genetic testing and like counseling for patients and just care in general?
Um,
That's a good question.
it's a very good question. Honestly, consent is a big thing in the beginning, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Consent is a big thing, but going through it, there could be some ethical like debates, arguments, but like,
So,
Mhm.
what do you think?
but okay, so I think for genetic testing, um, obviously, like a very obvious consideration should be pain and endurance. Like, I feel like that's obvious. Like, if a person's in too much pain, obviously don't keep going. So,
Right.
I think
yeah.
what you said about genetic counseling, I think that should be like for everyone, like free. Like every person
Yeah.
should get that genetic counseling so they can clearly understand what they're
Yeah.
going into.
Yeah.
And they're not being forced. It's just their decision whether they want.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I feel like it should be explained to a person like that's doesn't have a medical background in like very simple terms
Mhm.
that like is very like understandable because when this is so whenever I was shadowing um at a doctor's office over the break, so whenever some doctors will just like zoom through their counseling and like kind of just like make the patient feel rushed in a way and like
Mhm.
they like and it makes the patient not want to ask questions and like thoroughly understand what they're going through and what they're going to go through. So like they don't know what to expect, which obviously will be very harmful to the person. That's
Right.
Yeah, I feel
and
like that could come in training too.
yeah.
Yeah,
So and like and a lot of doctors do is they use these like really big word like medical words that like people don't understand.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think we've all experienced that.
Yeah.
yeah. So I
So
feel like there should be some type of training. It wouldn't be considered like an ethical practice, but I feel
Mhm.
like some training should be included just so the patient knows what they're about to go
yeah,
through and all
and
I
that.
maybe
agree
that like
because
oh yeah.
there's a lot of institutions that go through like a specific training, but they don't realize how much other aspects could play a part.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Like, um, when I was younger, we had a special needs night where a bunch of special needs kids would come to our church and we'd play with them as kids. But the adults were leaders, of course, but they also had therapists, psychologists, PTs, like the whole shebang. And they all met beforehand and talked about all the different things
right.
Mm-hmm.
each kid might need. And so it's that I think that some kind of training in that would be a huge part to play because God didn't just create one thing here and one thing here. No, it literally all works together, so it
Yeah.
all plays a part. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So like training and collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, and I also feel like med schools don't really focus on that. They just focus on like the
Right.
treatment and like
Hmm.
so not really like bedside manner maybe. Like obviously
Yeah.
it's like something that they'll like tell you about, but like they don't really like enforce it or like practice it.
Right.
Right.
So
Not holistic. They're not treating the patient. They're
mhm.
Right.
not
Yeah.
treating like the
Yeah,
It's a
they're
patient.
one and
treating the
done.
Oh,
disease.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a disease.
Yeah.
Just the disease.
I feel like a good talking point to talk about OA is like sports in general too.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like high impact sports like football or soccer,
Yep.
how they're really like high impact on these athletes. So I was thinking like, how can athletes really balance staying active while protecting their joints? And should young athletes be actually monitored for joint shape like abnormalities?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because obviously,
Definitely.
if you're a professional athlete, you're making this your career, and like you'd want to know if it's gonna get cut short, you know?
exactly.
Just like teachers need pencils.
Because
Yeah.
a risk itself is like students or athletes trying to be part of the NBA, NFL. Like you don't
Hmm.
know, you're taking a big risk just by hopping into that field.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like, especially like if you're obviously sports medicine, that's big. Like that's what you. I don't know if that's like what you focus on, but like that's a big aspect of your treatment is like
Mhm.
joint health, muscle health. So I feel like people who practice sports medicine should also kind of like learn about these like signs and stuff so they can also refer these athletes to like doctors that can actually treat it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Very
one thing is
important.
like cost.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can
Cost
you
is
afford
big.
it? or not afford the screening.
Right. I was gonna say if thinking about what the athlete needs, um, if you're doing professional, then like how you get examined before you go into the military to enlist, it should be the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Especially,
it shouldn't just be for like a certain cause.
hmm
I think it should,
seriously. Yeah.
yeah.
And that way they can learn more about their body. And
Hmm.
I
Exactly.
don't think, and if it's in college, I don't necessarily think they would need to pay for that. The school should provide it
Hmm.
Yeah.
because at that point, a grad student could help with that or a teacher. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like that can also, like, the more scans, the more screenings that we get, I feel like that can also go into like more research and like more data, which obviously will like speed up the process of finding a cure or like making a treatment.
Hmm.
Right.
We need more money being invested in the preventative side and
Exactly.
less the
Yeah.
actual
Exactly.
hospital.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which will, I
seriously.
feel like overall just help everything, honestly.
Yeah,
Everything.
Hmm.
Everything.
Yeah, because
I
that
think,
would like preventing a disease or a condition will obviously like you're I guess now you'd be spending more, but like over time, like you're fully like eradicating that problem.
hmm
Exactly.
So less people are experiencing it.
Right.
yeah, I would rather stop the accident from maybe happening.
Yeah, instead of
Yeah,
Yeah.
fixing it later.
exactly.
Hmm. I think the, I don't know if this is completely true, but also just could be the mindset of the world.
Hmm.
Um, it costs more money to fix it than to prevent it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because honestly, the world is a business and people will always think that way.
Yeah. So that's the other thought process.
Yeah, that's a whole different side of it. Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
guys ever torn your ACL?
No,
Mm-mm.
but I know
No,
people
but
who.
that's pretty big on OA too, because I'm really into soccer. So over the past like season, like there have been more games, right? So people have been tearing their ACL a lot. And I remember reading about a research article that's saying like if you had an ACL tear over the 10 to 15 years, you'll lose about 50 to 60% of like 50 of their like
Mobility.
mobility, yeah,
Yeah.
mobility.
And that's also why people who do tear their ACL or injure their knee in any way, it's really important for them to go to physical therapy like regularly, so they don't like lose their function.
It's very, very, very important.
Yep. Yep.
Huge. It's not enough to look up things online.
That's another cultural thing, though. People
It,
Also,
feel
Yeah.
like they only have to go to the doctor when they actually see a
something
change
yep.
in
happened.
their health. They
Yeah.
don't believe in going periodically
Yeah.
Yeah.
to
And
catch.
Important. To be
yeah.
fair, there's a lot of things, a lot of places that are misleading, but that's why it's important to know
Um,
see those red flags before you actually
and
go.
I think that actually ties into some of the data that this study actually made, because it said that like certain countries in Europe or Asia don't have like these people don't have these problems, but then in America that they do. Maybe it's because I know, like, I mean, I guess it's safe to say that a lot of Americans don't go to the doctor.
Yep.
Yes. But
Yeah,
it's also
so
the, I think the healthcare system as well.
yeah, and in other countries, obviously the healthcare system is free. Like people will go
Yeah.
because they're because they don't have to pay.
People are
Right.
prioritized in those
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
yeah,
Canada,
Literally,
Sweden,
pregnant women
Norway.
can stay in the
Australia,
hospital for
Singapore.
months.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sweden,
So
Norway.
obviously more like conditions are being prevented in those other countries, and maybe that's why we're not finding bigger numbers
Hmm.
in other
That's
countries.
true.
So
It's
Yeah.
all those movies that where they hone in on those small businesses and they make more money because they actually tend to the people.
Yeah.
It's a
mhm.
real thing.
Yeah, there's always a political aspect to it, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's with
Yeah.
All
anything in this
the big
world.
pharma, you have the insurance companies, you
Yeah,
have
everything
Yeah.
combined, bro.
everyone's trying to
It's
make
not
money,
just
but no
like,
one wants
oh,
to actually heal the
Right.
people, you know?
yeah, yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just like, oh, I'm gonna hear you. I'm gonna think about this money too.
Seriously.
Yeah.
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 And that's I actually see that a lot in the pharmacy that I work at because Ozempic is a weight loss drug, but it is so expensive. It is like almost 1,000 a month if you don't have insurance or any like coverage. So
Mm.
Dang.
yeah, so and obviously some people do it for like cosmetic reasons, but a lot of people do it to actually lose weight
Mm.
and like for their like cardiac health or their joint health or their muscle
Right.
health.
Right.
And so like they actually need it. And
Right.
for these people that actually need it, it's become such a popular drug that it's become so expensive they can't afford it.
Right.
And so like these people are like struggling to lose weight, which like affects their like living like
Dude.
Like
yeah, you know
life.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
lifestyle and their like yeah,
Some of
it's
them have diabetes too. It's really
yeah,
like, wow. But then
yeah.
Yeah.
people who just have money and want to lose weight as fast as possible, like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah, like
mean?
I know some people that they're like they look normal weight and they're not obese at all and they'll just be like, "Oh, I'm here to pick up my Ozempic." And obviously their insurance isn't going to cover it because they don't need it. And
Right.
so they're just paying $1,000 every
It's
month for
crazy.
their Ozempic. And then there's some people that don't have insurance, are actually obese or like actually need it because they have a bad heart or something.
Mhm.
And they're just like, "Oh, I can't get it this month." Like
Yeah.
I can't afford it. My insurance won't cover it because it's a cosmetic.
So dumb.
Insurance
Yeah.
is so
Crazy.
corrupt. It
Yeah.
can be corrupt. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But overall, I feel like this research is very needed, honestly,
Because,
just
Yeah.
to prevent and save lives.
yeah,
So,
it also shows a lot of flaws in the healthcare
Yes.
system.
yeah.
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 It's insane.
But
No
we can
one.
always improve. Like these
Yeah.
studies like inspiring because it's
Yeah.
giving us like all these signs
Seriously. I'm
that we
actually
can
gonna talk to
achieve.
my brother about this. He wants to be an engineer with like prosthetics and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
mainly for like kids. So it'd be cool if he could do something along those lines. And
Yeah.
he was like, "We could work together," since I want to be a physical therapist.
Yeah.
It's like you can
Yeah.
learn so much
Yeah.
Yeah.
from just these. And I almost want to like, I kind of want to look at the other articles if I have the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Honestly.
cool
Yeah.
Mhm.
to learn about.
Yeah.
And we're actually
It's very
learning.
important, honestly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
This
always
is a
such
good article.
always such a major cause of disability worldwide.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
this research is so important, honestly.
Mhm. We need to send this to all the corporates and be like, do something with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I feel like through like genetic research or like rehab or lifestyle changes, there's a lot of potential to obviously reduce OA.
Yeah,
Mhm. It
for
doesn't have
sure.
to always be like some cure. It also
Yeah,
like
there's not, yeah.
lifestyle
Yes.
changes, you know,
Prevent it before it gets to the point.
and before it gets
Honestly.
there. Yeah.
Prevent it
Mhm.
before it gets to the point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I feel like that was like the main idea of this article also
Yeah.
Right.
because it was talking about imaging and like early treatment
Mhm.
Hmm.
a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Prevent before it onsets, honestly.
For real.
That's
That's it.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
Mic
So
drop.
good.
And maybe like 10 years from now, we'll see like these signs in like our medical textbooks
Oh
somewhere.
my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like while
yeah.
we're in med school.
We're like,
Yeah.
Wait a second, guys.
We saw this.
Oh yeah, but that sounds good then. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Thank
All
you.
right, this has been Pascal Canoe.
Joydeb Math.
Sridhaya?
Esther.
And thank you for listening to our discussion about OA.
Bye.
Bye.